So why doesn't Cameron want the fiscal discipline of Germany and Scandinavia being imposed on the other nations within Europe? You know, the problem for people who are detractors of the euro is perverse because they put faith in the dollar. The US at the moment is 300% debt on its GDP. It has Medicare bills because it uses the private insurance companies and private medical providers as its basis of giving out medical care rather than directly getting the government to fund it, whereby you would have insurance companies and medical companies competing against each other rather than the consumer, as in the present US system, competing between each other for beds, you know, which is of course expensive, and it will continue to grow, you know. So people have said in the United States, you know, I don't know what Ron Paul's view on the euro is, but I should expect it's quite negative from what he said, that these entitlements are the problem, you know, and also the Federal Reserve is a problem. At one look at it, you can say yes, they are, right, but the solutions that Ron Paul is saying, you know, I can't. When you actually look at it logically, it doesn't actually make a lot of sense, you know. Although I was at one time a big supporter of his, but they're putting faith in that system, you know. Okay, it's constitutional. It's the U.S. Constitution was a brilliant thing in its day, and but it is dead law, you know. The only way to get it to work is to amend it, you know. That's why the founders of America put the ability to amend their constitution, right? So you've got one set of people, mostly people in Britain who are Eurosceptics, right? They're putting all their faith in that, even as the dollar has fallen in value, like plunging off a waterfall for the last century, almost. And yet the euro has been consistently gaining in value over the dollar, okay? Because Germany is the world's largest importer and exporter. All those Chinese goods that are ending up in Walmart are all made by English and German machine tools. Those are machines that make other machines, you know. The Germans are saying to the British, you have the world's biggest financial services industry, okay? You are trading 2/3 of all the euros that go in and out through transactions in Europe. So therefore, it's actually the City of London that has a vice-like grip over what happens to the euros after the ECB and the governments of the Eurozone create it. You know, he said, let us tax it. Let us stop the fraudsters like Kyle Bass who are claiming insurance on stuff they don't even own, and put the risk back onto them through a financial transaction tax. Let us tax and regulate the merchant banks who are putting on their cut onto every good and service that is traded. You know, that to me seems quite logical, but of course David Cameron has got a bunch of fraudsters and crooks behind him telling him, no, we won't do that because otherwise we'll move and your economy will be ruined. And all the people on the street, according to the media, which is of course Eurosceptic and owned by not Europeans but foreigners, you know, are very, very anti-Nordic, anti-Celtic, anti-German, anti-English themselves, you know, are saying, oh, David Cameron had the bulldog spirit, you know, he showed those foreigners. What a nihilistic statement. He's denied us any way of having a role in maintaining our own national sovereignty. What is national sovereignty? It's not isolationism. It's the ability to affect what is going on and do the best for your nation. That is what nationalism is, you know. And he says, oh, it's undemocratic. You know, the UKIP's always saying that, even though they're a New World Order party, you know. Look at the themes of ultra-conservatism and indeed Freemasonry go through Nigel Farage and the rest of his crew, You know, they are just there, and David Cameron is just there saying that we insist to be part of the process so that we can throw a spanner in the works. It's like I don't know. It's like your dog insisting he's got a right to dump in your clean washing and you're trying to clean it. You know, to be crude, or someone on an artillery crew insisting they have a right to put a cooking off shell into the gun and then also refusing to fire it so it explodes. So you can use any analogy you want, but it's bad. You know, to me, David Cameron's position is only good for himself. He goes back, he says he's made no decision at all, and yet he comes out looking like a hero to his own backbenchers because they want to move him directly towards a situation where he will be forced to bring us out of the Eurozone. That's what they want. They're not interested in whether there's a referendum or not, because if there is a referendum, they will insist, just as the Europeans would insist to keep us in, that we carry on having the same referendum over and over again. In principle, I am very much for referendums. I think we should have referendums the way the Swiss do on everything, and that government parties should be able to be elected to certain government ministries, so that you could have a party that was against immigration or for homeland security or other such things, or one that's for pro-investment and pro-European integration on the other. You know, those might sound contradictory things, but if we are part of the European Union, then we can have a common border against immigration. Britain doesn't has more problems with immigration than any other country, you know, in European Union. Why is it that all the other countries are more integrated than us, don't have a problem with immigration so much? Right? And I know that because I've been to Germany, France, Holland, Spain. You do not see the levels of immigration there. It's because of the legacy of the British Empire, right? That the ultra-conservatives want an imperial project within the British Isles to stratify the classes on the basis of race. You have two conflicting incendiary ideas of race and class mixed together. So there will be an underclass of cheap labour. That's the reason we've got immigration. The Europeans, by putting regulation on the different kinds of jobs that we do, to insist that there are labour rights and citizens' rights, pushes up the price of and the level of education you have to get a job. Now that might seem a bad thing, right? But it also prevents immigration from third worlders who do not have any education at all, or have forged their education from some document on the internet, coming to take European jobs away. So there is a theme of social democracy and pan-European nationalism within the Euro. You can't, to have sovereignty over the European Union, you must be able to create your own money. And there is, again, an ultra-conservative or Eurosceptic argument against the Euro, because all these different countries are creating Euros with their own interest rates. So therefore, yes, the ECB, if you look at the final analysis of both arguments, they both lead to what is the most logical thing, is a federalised Europe with a United States of Europe with an ECB that is the lender of last resort. Okay, but the Germans are wary of this because it might create hyperinflation. So therefore, as you know, there could be a role for the ECB in the future, but it needs to be democratically accountable. That's the issue. The head of the central bank must be elected, you know, as must be the president of the EU. It must be run like a triumvirate between the civil service, which is the commission, you know. Where does in Britain does the civil service give interviews to the journalists, or is under political scrutiny? That's true democracy, because the civil service runs the state, you know. And the president is the political and ceremonial head. I would prefer a president who's a ceremonial head, who's the head of the legal service and the armed forces and security services, and the Prime Minister has the governmental functions, as in Germany.